Hi, and welcome to your Wednesday lunch break with the Texas Apartment Association's Education Foundation series, Hints from HR, and we are live. I am Blaise Valeri with Gemstar Construction. Drop your comments during the show for live interactions. Today, we are going to talk about HR innovations. Just some new ideas to think about, to maybe change, shake some things up, and experiment with in your organizations. So we got the team back together today. The angels to my Charlie. We have Becca Ramadi and Nicole Block. Say hello.
Hello. Welcome back. We missed you guys last week. We were gone.
Well, we do have a special guest today, too, that I'm excited to talk to. He's the general manager from Highland Commercial Properties, Mike Rust. So, Mike, please tell us a little bit about your background, and then we'll start to kick off this conversation on HR innovations.
Yeah, Blaise. First of all, real happy to be on. I feel honored to be a part of your show here, and so thanks for having me. I'm the general manager for Highland Commercial Properties. I've been there for a little over 4 years. I'm a past president of the San Antonio Apartment Association and currently the chair of the TAA Legislative Committee. I've been in the industry about 11 years. I guess that's me.
Well, we're certainly glad to have you on, and we're certainly glad to have this conversation because Highland Commercial Properties, we're going to talk a little bit about your organization and some of their really interesting approaches that they have for their teams and for their communities. So, Mike, can you just shed a little light about Highland Commercial, maybe the size, the markets that you're in? This way we can kind of understand this conversation may not be for everybody. It may, just be a niche kind of organization. So if you could just tell us a little bit about the organization so we can know if it's, just a catalyst for some new conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. So Highland Commercial Properties is, it's a family-owned business that been operating in Texas for well over 25 years. We own and manage single-family and multifamily properties in San Antonio and Houston. We have some houses in Austin and a few in Fort Worth as well. A couple other minor markets in between. Marco Hurley, immediate past president of the Texas Apartment Association. Is the president of the company. And so, basically we're IROs, he's an IRO. And so we're able to run the company that way. We're able to try a lot of new things. I think a lot of them are applicable to everybody around, but I know that there's, a lot of constraints that third-party managers have that we don't have that allows us to try some fun things.
Well, and I think too, what we talked about when we did our intake call is that exactly what you said is that even though, how you guys are able to execute on some of these innovations that we're really excited to talk about, a lot of them are scalable. A lot of them are maybe able to be, kind of tweaked and changed and still adopted with many of us out there. It just might, have to be tweaked to fit into a current format if you're a REIT or third party or, depending on, again, what your current restrictions are. But I think a lot of these things are going to have people ask some really good questions.
Yeah, I agree.
So the first one I want to point out then, and tell me if these rumors are true or not, but apparently, and I'll preface this with, I know Microsoft experimented with a 4-day work week in Japan. A little bit of a different industry, but they had some metrics that show that they had a 40% productivity boost. My understanding is that Highland, you guys have incorporated a 4-day work week. Can you tell us what that looks like and why did you decide to take this initiative?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So it's a fun thing that we've rolled out recently. We started thinking about this. Actually, I said I've been with Highland for about 4 years, and to be honest, we were talking about this really early on in 2017. It's an idea that Marco had gotten. I want to say from England. It's kind of a thing overseas. And so we were just chatting about the way to make it work. And then in 2019, we thought we had maybe an idea of how we could do it. And we started out with a 4.5-day work week where, you'd still have 40 hours, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 6, and then 4 hours on Friday. And the reason we wanted to try it was, for a couple of things. One, we thought it'd be a great benefit for our employees, where, they would have a head start on the weekend. They could make their appointments on a weekday when other businesses are open, where they'd be able to get things done when they're not at work. And we thought maybe that would help, have everybody present during the week, the rest of the working week. It was really important for us to find a way to do that didn't really affect our customers because we still needed to be around to meet their needs,
right.
Meet the needs of the company. So that's kind of how it started. And so we started with a 4.5-day work week in 2019. We rolled it out to just a couple properties, one small, one big, just to see how it went. And we found that the employees liked it a lot. And actually, productivity, we don't have the stats that Microsoft has. We haven't measured it that way, but we feel like productivity actually was helped by it, contrary to what you might think. People were able to get their work done. They knew that they had less time, less days to do it. And so they got more done while they were there.
How did it affect the engagement and motivation? I would imagine that would be, something that you guys considered. I know it's not always measurable, but again, maybe your turnover reduced or something like that. But how did it affect their engagement and motivation?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I can't speak for all of them, but what we saw was that they liked it, and so you would have, kind of a little bit of peer pressure where you'd have an employee say, well, don't mess this up for the rest of us, and so there was some of that where we felt like people liked the idea of having Friday afternoons off and didn't want to, for lack of a better phrase, mess it up, right? So
I would think it's also kind of a good recruiting tool as well, as you're bringing new people into the company, that this is a great benefit for them.
Yeah, we think so. And we try to talk about it when we're doing interviews and advertisements and everything. We want to say, listen, this is great. You're gonna have Fridays off, and so that absolutely, Becky, that does help.
And a follow-up to that real quick, just maybe Nicole, for you as well to answer. If there's people out there listening to this who are looking to get into the industry, what is thinking about how a company looks at HR or HR innovation? What should they be thinking about hearing this conversation as well?
Yeah, no, and I was just thinking about with the job, kind of the job seeker. And I know that when Blaze and I got to talk to Mike about this yesterday, we had 1,000 questions. Poor Mike was like just getting hit left and right because we were so excited to hear about this. But I think as the job seeker, you're obviously looking for a certain schedule as well. We all are. We all have other things in our personal life that have to kind of fit in with our professional life. So I think the job seeker would definitely want to look at that. Having Friday afternoons off. One thing I wanted Mike to clarify too, and I think this is a scalable option for other companies, is that the schedule, to my understanding, Mike, is very static. So everyone has the same schedule, Monday through Thursday now, but Monday through Thursday and half day Fridays. I know on the first week of the month, which you can go into that, but I think how it's scalable is potentially a larger company that's open 6 or 7 days a week could be able to stagger 4-day work week. So again, just thinking about those types of things, I think that's an opportunity for it to be scalable for a job seeker to consider, but also for other companies to look at, for a more productive, engaged workforce. But sorry, I know that Mike was going to go into how they got from 4.5, days to 4. So if you wanted to kind of take that over. Sorry, Blaze, Becca and I just jumped all over your questions, but
no, keep going. Mike, please, let's get to the 4-day, and then I got a great follow-up for both you and Nicole as well.
Okay. Yeah. So we were doing the 4.5-day. We had that completely rolled out, and it was pretty successful. The goal had always been 4 days. And so then, a year ago, almost exactly, the world turned itself upside down, and we thought, well, now's a chance to do it. Let's just try it. I think we have a great company to work for, and it starts at the very top. And Marco made the decision that he was willing to pay people 40 hours a week for 36 hours of work. So we went to a 4-day work week where, we worked 9 hours a day with a lunch break, Monday to Thursday, and then Friday you got paid for 4 hours as if you were there, but you didn't have to show up. So it was, you don't have to wake up in the morning and do your hair and get dressed, and take a shower and all that, and then come in for 4 hours and then go home. You've got the whole day to do whatever you need to do. And so it was a good transition. It kind of kept people out of the offices a little bit more. If you want, I could just keep going into some of the adjustments we had to make, because obviously,
and this is office and maintenance. I think we should maybe make that point, is that office and service are both on this Monday through Thursday, and then what you'll go into with the first week of the month schedule, correct?
That's absolutely correct. Yes.
Yeah, and Mike, please touch base as well on that. It can vary a little bit because you guys can still open up on Friday and Saturday depending on different situations.
Right. Yeah. So it's evolved, right? It's not like anything. You roll it out and then you kind of see what you have to change. And I should mention, when we started the 4.5 day, we did a little bit at a time. When we did the 4 day, that was just everybody at once. That was just shoot everybody out of the cannon at the same time and see what happens. And so, yeah, so the first Friday of every month, as a, kind of a conceit to what our industry is, we have the office staff come back in to be available for collecting rents. And, because we all know that the beginning of the month is really hectic, on site. Originally, we had the maintenance come back in on that first Friday of every month as well. Recently, we made a change where the maintenance, they don't have to do that. So, and that's kind of also just kind of a recognition that in our industry, the maintenance guys, there's a lot of, unsung heroes out there. They have, in the summer, they're sweating to death outside doing repairs. In winter, they're freezing, getting soaking wet. And, a lot of the good stuff gets passed out to the office staff. They're the ones that the vendors come in with cookies that they get to eat and all that stuff like that. Anyway, so it's just an extra bonus for the maintenance guys to have time off. Now, so that's kind of how that transition went. And you're right, Blaze, they do, the managers have flexibility to, if something's going on, they want to have some coverage. If maybe their occupancy is flagging a little bit, they've got extra collections, people they're trying to get a hold of. They have all the authority to change it up a little bit and have somebody come in Friday and Saturday, as long as they, Monday afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, they get off early to make those hours up, and it works for their schedule to do so. So we're not blind to the realities of what happens on site. It's not like a hard and fast rule where everybody's off on Thursday afternoon and that's that, and you can't violate this sacred principle. So we try to give everybody the authority to react as they need to.
So you touched base on something too, and I want to get to it a little bit later about empowering your people in order to make decisions. But I just wanted to ask one question about, have you seen any unintended consequences for rolling this out, or any real big benefits that you've seen that really have solidified the decision that you guys have made?
Yeah, I mean, the benefits I think are a little easier, although maybe not always as quantifiable. I mean, I think the employees love it. I think they love having Friday off, as you would expect. I love being able to, when somebody needs to make an appointment, saying, well, why don't you make it on Friday? That's why we have this. So if they're trying to call in, you can kind of talk them into understanding that that's why you have that day.
Right.
And we think that happy workers more productive, and we believe in the idea that if you take care of your employees will help take care of your customers. So the benefits, I think we've seen. The unintended consequences, let's be honest, there's always going to be people that aren't happy or trying to take advantage of things. So we had to kind of adjust where people would call in on Thursday and end up with like a 4 or 5 day weekend or whatever. So we made some what we think were modest adjustments to where if you're calling in and it's not an excused absence, you're not sick with a doctor note or anything, then you're going to have to work for those extra 4 hours on Friday or
Right.
Saturday. You're not going to just get them for free.
And clearly you were stating too that your occupancy hasn't suffered from this. So it's looked like it's been a success thus far. And Nicole, I just want to ask you a question too. What is your take on this 4-day work week as an industry veteran? And what do you see as benefits or potential worries?
Yeah, I think that, I think scalability, what I mentioned before, I think there's something to it. I think that, for the most part, now I've been a salaried associate for a long time. So I think my days have been 9 and 10 hours, right? Just naturally. But I feel like for the side associates, that we always talk about a work-life harmony, work-life synergy, work-life balance, however you want to, kind of call it. And I do think that there's opportunity. I think that if you were able to, again, stagger those schedules to where everyone's working those 4-day work weeks, but they're all, a little bit, different as far as, making sure that the office is covered. And then of course your residents are taken care of. I think it's kind of like working from home. Before the pandemic, it was definitely a no-no in a lot of industries, right? This one included, right? And so I think that now it's changed. And so what I love about it is asking the question. What I'm excited about is that we need to ask the question for our companies. It might not work, but let's just not say we've never done it, so we shouldn't consider it. And that's just kind of how I feel in general, is just ask the questions, because like I was thrilled after I had that conversation with Mike, because I was thinking, wow, this could be something that we could, see more often. And I think that to your point, the associate is the one, a lot of times they're working those, and again, this is just and I don't want to paint with a broad brush here, but it's like a lot of times they're working those long hours anyway, and they have to cut OT. You know, you're sending people home on Friday or sending people home on Wednesday to try to manage that. Whereas if you try to create your schedule in anticipation of that, you know, it might make you more efficient. I don't know, just a thought. I think it's great though.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super excited about hearing about this and what that could look like going forward. You know, it's important to point out again too that you guys implemented this before the pandemic as well. So this is something that you guys truly believed in and really wanted to put forward. So I think, you know, going forward as the world's changed a little bit, this is a lot of new things that we need to consider with all of our organizations too. And, you know, employee happiness and mental health is a big part of that as well. And I think that you're creating a great atmosphere for your team. Now, I want to touch base a little bit on hiring some of your folks there at Highland. Now, my understanding is that sometimes if a resident may need assistance, you guys may hire them on. Can you just tell us a little bit about that process and what that looks like?
Yeah, you know, one of the really neat things about our industry in general, I think, is that, you know, and I'm sure this is ground you all have covered before, but I feel pretty strongly about it, so I'm gonna say it. But
Sure.
you know, when our employees go to work, they're not pushing widgets around. They're not, you know, collecting dimes for whatever. I mean, this is people's home. This is their life, you know, and so our staff, from the porter, groundskeeper up to the manager, are involved in their customers' lives, you know, intimately a lot of times. And so, you know, our managers, our on-site staff are the first to know when one of their customers is in trouble. You know, they lost their job, they can see them not going to work, they're talking to them about, you know, the rent payments. And so they know their customers on a level that, you know, in a lot of businesses, you don't get to know people, you know, your customers. And so, you know, we'll have situations where they'll say, you know, this person, they've lived with us for a little while now. They're, you know, they're obviously hardworking people that are into some trouble. You know, I think they would be a good addition to the team. And so, you know, we're more than happy to hire them on. So we've had a few that we started as groundskeepers, you know, and this really accelerated during the pandemic. We did this before, but it really accelerated during the pandemic when there's more and more people, you know, running into trouble.
Yeah.
So we'd bring them in and give them a steady job, good, you know, decent benefits, a four-day work week, where they could support themselves, have some pride in what they're doing, and you know, and stay with us, because at the end of the day, we want our customers to stay customers. You know, that's everybody in the industry does.
Well, and think about that from the job seeker's perspective, is that, you know, you could be living in an apartment community right now. You know, why haven't you walked down to the leasing office and said, hey, are you guys hiring, or looked on their website? It's just another thought that, you know, I love that Highland is doing the right thing when it makes sense. And I think having that mantra and that, you know, that attitude is just going to have a great ripple effect. And so sometimes Micah said that they've hired when it's beyond their FTE or full-time employee count. It's just, it makes sense that, you know, having an extra set of hands to help pick up grounds, you know, it always, you know, I always feel like there's more room for that, right? So I think that doing the right thing sometimes is the right way. So I think that, you know, your approach is great.
I think it's amazing that I think that creates a better community as well. You know, having people more involved, and yeah, I think that's a wonderful approach. Now, we mentioned the empowering of employees a little bit earlier. I want to just touch base on your Monday meetings. What are the origins of these Monday meetings? What do you take from them? I'll let you explain it.
Yeah, thanks. So, you know, every Monday we have, you know, our Monday morning lineup, we call it, and it's basically a chance for our employees to tell stories about how they've helped customers. This started, you know, Marco started this, you know, a few years before I came along. This is something that I think originated with, you know, the Ritz-Carlton Monday morning, you know, lineup, where they exchange customer stories. And, you know, it started in person. You know, before the pandemic hit, we'd kind of already transitioned to a Zoom / you know, Google Video Meet meeting, so that we can involve the maintenance teams as well. And yeah, I mean, it's just, to me, it's inspiring. It's an inspiring way to start Monday, to hear the stories of what our employees are doing to help their customers every day. I may have gone off track from your question, Blaise, so you can wrangle me back if you want to, because I can probably talk about this for a really long time. But yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, basically it does a couple things. It reinforces the fact that we want our employees to take care of the customers, right? That's their primary focus. And so we feel like by encouraging them to share in front of their peers the things that they've done, it basically, it's a just giant permission structure. They tell the things that they've done, and by us listening and applauding them for it, you know, we're giving them permission to do good. Their peers are hearing the things that they're doing, and that's giving them permission to do the same kind of things. And I mean, I'll be honest, there's some things that, you know, from a risk management perspective that you hear your staff is doing for your customers, you kind of sit up straight and you're like, okay, let's not put them in the car again. But at the same time, you understand that you know, these are really important things that we're doing. It goes back to the relationship between our on-site staff and the people that are their customers, that this is their home, this is their life, you know, and it all goes back to that.
Well, and one of the things we talked about yesterday, and I also worked for a company that had that approach, and we call them daily huddles, but we absolutely modeled it after the Ritz-Carlton, and it was just, you know, quick, 10 minutes, nothing crazy, but just kind of talk through the day, and it does set the tone. But what I loved hearing about yesterday, Mike, and this kind of goes into the first topic we talked about with the scheduling of the 4-day work week, and then also with these decisions that they're making, is that empowerment piece. Because if you're focusing on that and you're really trusting them, which is what I hear, to make the right decision. And what did you say? Permission to do good. You know, I think that, you know, I would love for you to talk a little bit about that reinforcement with your teams, because, you know, give us some of the specifics you gave us yesterday, as far as if a service associate needs to make a decision and waive something, that they have the empowerment to do it. There's no red tape that goes all the way up to the general manager, you know, for a carport or something like that. But if you can share some of those examples, I think that would be beneficial for everybody to know what you're talking about.
Yeah, thanks, Nicole. And that really is it. I mean, it starts at the customer, right? And the idea is that we don't want a customer coming into the leasing office or just seeing a staff member out on site that to come to them with a problem and then them not be able to solve it. You know, what we want is for the customer to be able to have their problem solved without being told, well, I have to ask my boss, right? So it starts with the customer, and then it goes to the employee. You know, I think there's value. I think they feel value in being able to make decisions, right? And they definitely feel value in being able to help people. And so, yeah, that's really where it starts is, you know, I'm behind on my rent, you know, back when we were doing late fees, which we've stopped, you know, during the pandemic. But, you know, if a manager just wanted to waive a late fee or 2 late fees or 3, they could just do it. They could just say, listen, I see you're trying hard. We're just going to waive these fees. And all we ask, you know, all I ask as a general manager is just send me an email. Tell me what happened. Tell me what you did. And you know, and that's kind of a reinforcement structure as well, which is, listen, I think that was a great idea. I'm glad you helped the customer. Or, you know, hey, maybe next time let's not give a whole month of rent away for, you know, for nothing. These are some options that you could have. But it's important for us to never cut them off at the knees in front of the customer. If you tell the customer that you gave them a month rent for free, I may put the phone down and silently, you know, say a couple choice words to myself internally, to myself only. But when I respond to you, I'm going to say, listen, you know, this isn't maybe the ideal solution, but I'm never going to say, go back to the customer and say, you can't do it anymore, because they need to have.
But that's how they learn. I mean, but again, that's how they learn you know, there's definitely parameters, but how you get there, you know, is definitely, you know, up to that, the authentic presentation of that person. And when you're having those meetings, what I love about it is that they're hearing what other people are doing. So the next time they're presented with a similar situation, they have kind of a map, right? And they have kind of examples to follow.
Exactly.
And I've been lucky enough to listen to a couple of their meetings, one before the pandemic and one after. And I was really struck by just the kindness that's happening because of these meetings. And I heard a similar story from the first meeting to the second meeting, just of someone taking that extra 5 minutes to talk to someone who is lonely, or to go pick up you know, something for them at a store, or whatever the case might be, you know, that you can tell that they're learning from each other, and those kindnesses just go so long, especially right now. So
right.
It's such a nice and inspiring way to start your Monday, like what Mike was saying. And I feel really lucky to have gotten to listen in on them. They're really impactful.
And hopefully this is going to inspire more HR innovations. I think that's why we're doing this program, right? We want to be able to put a focus on some things that are really benefiting communities and the people. And you know, it doesn't stop here, but I got one more kind of big segment to talk about. I know our time is limited, but something real quick. I was a foster parent and for a couple of years, and my children aged out of the program. And you were telling me yesterday that you guys are part of this program called the Through Project, THRU. And it's a nonprofit helping children that are aging out of foster care. And you guys have teamed up with them. So can you tell us a little bit about this project and how Highland has teamed up with the Through Project?
Yeah, thanks, Blaze. Yeah, it's something that I'm really passionate about, and I didn't know anything about it until I was introduced to Elaine Hartle. She's the head of the Through Project, and it's a group that, like you said, it's a wraparound service organization. They provide all kinds of counseling and support to youth that are aging out of the foster care system, and for whatever flaws it may or may not have, that foster care system ends at a certain age, and these young people are kind of sent out into the world. And so, I was introduced to Elaine, and, we sat down and have a conversation. We basically said, listen, there's more people in the world in San Antonio and Houston that need help than we can possibly help. But if there's some place that we can make an impact, we're going to do it. And so we just, the stat that she gave was that something like 40% of youth aging out of foster care become homeless. And we provide housing, and that's something that we could help with. So we started a program with them, the housing program, where they would identify a youth that came through the program. They'd call me, and we'd get them situated in an apartment. We wouldn't do any kind of our normal application or screening process. Basically, if Elaine or Chris Lopez, her program head there, said, I've got somebody for you, we'd say, all right, bring them by. And, we'd make them do the application just as a life skill for them, but, it didn't really matter. And they pay the rent, and, a couple of times we'd give them a Chromebook, so that they could have a computer to work through, just in life and school or work, whatever they're doing. So it's, to us, it's a really great program. We've helped, since 2017, when we started this, we've helped, a good number of youth through the program. The Through Project's been able to expand it. They have a partnership with the San Antonio Housing Authority now, that they also do it with. So, we saw it as a way to show that it can work and be part of a solution in society. So it's something that we feel really passionate about, and I'd love to. I could talk about it for a long time, so I'll stop myself here.
Yep. If you want to find out more information, though, people can definitely reach out to you. They can find out more information through the throughproject.org, THRU. PROJECT. I think it's a wonderful project as well. And not to plug, but I work with a nonprofit here in Houston. Yours is San Antonio specific. I'm with one Houston specific as well. So if anybody else out there is listening to put foster children into some housing, and really maybe even refugee families and things of that nature, you can reach out to me. I won't plug that though, because that's not what we're here for, but just letting you know while we're on topic.
Yeah, and we have some in DFW too. So yeah, equal opportunity for sure, to, just to ensure that we're doing our best. I mean, again, housing is our specialty. So whatever we can do to ensure that that we take that as broad as possible, I think that's part of our responsibility.
Yeah, and I should add that we've also had a chance to hire some of the youth from the program too, because housing is our job, but also we love our employees, and we love giving people a chance. And I think it's a great industry for people to get into. There's a lot of growth potential, so it's a great foot in the door and some of these, let's be honest, some of these youth might not have the opportunity to join our industry without that program. So
yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, Mike, I think you being on this show today, talking about everything that you have in your organization, it's been amazing having this conversation. I hope everybody out there has picked something up from listening. Please feel free to reach out. We do have a few housekeeping items, but before I get to that, Becca, do we have anybody with any questions or comments that we want to share or anything?
They're all sitting back on that 4-day work week going, how do I work that in? How do
They're pondering.
Well, Mike, thank you again. Nicole and Becca, you guys have been absolutely amazing. Please make sure you register for the TAA1 Conference and Expo. Join all your industry friends here in San Antonio, Texas. Register at TAA.org. It's April 14th to the 16th. You can go to TAAEF.ourraffle.org and you could buy your tickets. I've already bought mine for a 2021 Cadillac XT4 raffle. So make sure Becca's going to post some links to that. Just make sure you guys check that out. And lastly, if you're going to be at the conference, make sure to visit the TAAEF booth, and you could do a little shopping. I had to look up who Kendra Scott was. Don't get mad at me. Terrible, but there's going to be a Kendra Scott pop-up boutique on the exhibit floor. TAAEF will receive 20% off of all proceeds. We also have an online version following the conference, so make sure to check it out.
Don't forget Mother's Day, graduation, Nicole's birthday.
My birthday's next week, like Blaze. My birthday's next week.
Yeah, Christmas is right around the corner.
Christmas.
So
coming out of this pandemic big, Mike. We're coming out big.
So thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure, and hope to see you at TAA conference. Mike, thank you.
Thank you, Mike. We appreciate you.
Bye-bye.